where are we with the candle project? Pretty good, actually. The electronics are pretty much sorted. PFS 154 would normally sit on this SOP to DIP 8 adapter, so I just program that up and solder it in. That whole thing sitting on the stable Dual Thief, and this version of the stable Dual Thief has been configured to provide, in this case it's a 4.3 volt Zener, so that provides steady 4 volts through pin 1 as VCC and pin 8 as ground. So specifically for the Paduks with that sort of weird, well not weird, but that is their arrangement for VCC and ground, that's pin 1 and pin 8. And just recently, of course, PCB Way have very nicely sponsored me and provided this PCB here. So this is the candle part of it, where I've got the LEDs split up, and that provides more of a 3D, if you like, sort of like an organic flame that's coming out, or fake flame. And it has a 150 ohm resistor here, which is sort of like your maximum brightness would be provided by that current limiting resistor. And then there's a 1K pot to sort of dial it back down again as well. So all that's terrific, but I've started thinking a little bit about throwing this flame a little bit further. I've got a couple of ideas. I normally use like these glass jars here, and upside down, they, you know, at night time they would provide a pretty good light, and then during the day you can have them with a solar panel sitting on top. It's drilled through to the electronics under the lid there, and we've seen that before, and that all works fine. And then I was thinking maybe in that arrangement what I could do is provide some cellophane, that sort of wrapping that you get for you know, party presents and flowers and whatnot. So a little bundle of cellophane just glued over the top here, fixed some way, would throw that light maybe a little sort of randomly and further than just having those three lined up in a row there. So, you know, a little bit fiddly to deal with, obviously, but that would be, I think, a pretty good option for extending that sort of 3D nature of the flame. Yeah, and it's not going to sit there for me. But yeah, you would just simply glue that on. However, I was just trawling my way through a second-hand store about a week or so ago, and I saw this. So this is a beautiful crystal vase, and it was in an antique store, but it was $15. And I thought, wow, that could be quite interesting. You could, for instance, put this upside down over the flame, and it would throw it out in all sorts of weird and wacky ways according to these patterns on the side here. So I'll try that first. If that doesn't work, then I've got myself a vase, so that's a win. And also I'll just use the cellophane, which I think would probably have maybe a similar effect, although this looks a little bit more classy, I think. And then all that you'd need to do is to put the solar panel on one side here, so it would collect light quite happily, face that towards a light. This can sit on a windowsill, and yeah, that should be very interesting. So let's start. I've got all the electronics already soldered up because we've seen that many times before. So I think I just need to find out where is the center of this, and then put all this together and see what it looks like. Math teachers have got some quirky superpowers. One is finding the center of a circle. So if we just trace around the outside of the vase, then we'd probably, well, you don't need to, but just in terms of where do I place this in the bottom. So I'm just thinking, you know, obviously probably needs some way of fixing it to it. And maybe what could happen is that if I fix this in here, then the electronics are fixed on the underside, and then I just need to know roughly where to bring that these LEDs so that they're facing that way, more or less in the center. So that could be interesting. But to find the center of a circle, we need a couple of chords, just randomly. It doesn't really matter. Let's put one here and one here. It doesn't matter what the length is either. And then what we could do is measure, I've got centimeters here on the PCB Way ruler. So we just, that's 105. So if we go to 52.5-ish around here, and halving this one, that's 72. So 36-ish around here. Ooh, I'm going to get that a bit more closely. yeah, about here. And then what you need is you need diagonals coming out of here. So I wonder if I could just do that. When I say diagonals, I mean a perpendicular line. I'm just going to, I'm not going to do this mathematically. You could, if I had handy a protractor, that might work, or even a set of compasses, and then what I could do is bisect the angle. But let's just see how we go doing this roughly. Because in the end, what we're talking about is a fairly broad area here. So if it's sort of sitting, anywhere around here, it's about right. So that is roughly where the center of my circle is. And so I'd be sitting you've got to allow for the width of the actual vase itself. So I imagine that we'd be sitting somewhere about here. So the electronics, this would need to poke out. This could sit pretty neatly on the back of the board here, and then we could poke this out. That's going to be about right. I think that pretty much confirms what I thought, that this would work out pretty well. So I'm going to wire all that up and see what it looks like. Bit of hot glue might help as well. About halfway. Haven't put on the paduk yet, so I better go and do that. But look at how well the solar panel lines up with the solar input from the on the actual PCB. So positive and ground. Pretty cool. So yeah, that's not so bad. It's almost as if someone designed it.
So I've been using lead-based solder for a few years now. This is the first thing that I've soldered up from start to finish in lead-free solder. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm a convert or not. Putting a light over the top and soldering on was a bit difficult as well, but yeah, in the end, I think this will work pretty well.
How beautiful is that? I'm almost too afraid to turn it on in case it doesn't work the way that I want it to. But it is nice that the solar panel fits really nicely into the curve of the vase. And also the PCB sits beautifully on the back of the solar panel, as does the battery. And then poking up from the side there is the LED PCB. And just a little bit of hot glue down the bottom, and it's all sitting in there nicely. Let's go to the darkroom and see what it looks like. I like it. Result. I still might maybe put some cellophane on top of those LEDs, because from certain angles you can distinctly see 2-3 LEDs in there. I've yet to try it at night time, of course, so that's going to be the ultimate test, but I think that's lovely. I'm pretty happy with that. That is the circuit working for this week. We'll see you next time.